Before we get started on working on this week's six-fold or six journal, I'd like to thank these people for their comments. Kelly Green lives in Tempe, Arizona, and she asked me about holding a retreat, and I am working on that right now. And then these other people, I want to congratulate Diana Campanelli. Her granddaughter got engaged. So that's fantastic news. And let's get started on this beautiful six-fold journal. And I'm going to show you how we put it together. So in today's video, we are going to construct our six-fold journal. Now, if you recall, you need two journals that are full-length pages, and then those would be 8.5 by 5.5. And then you need four journals that will be half of that size to go over the top. So each one of those is then 5.5 by about 4.25. So you need a total of 6, 4 of the smaller ones and 2 of the larger ones. And in the last video, what I did is I showed you how to use the Coptic stitching to stitch these together. And I haven't tried the just a 5-hole pamphlet stitch to stitch these together, because I think what you need for this type of journal is they need to lay completely flat for it to work. I might do an experiment one day and try to do it without doing the Coptic stitch. So even though this is very pretty and I do like it, I just want to make sure it's strong enough. So what I'm going to do is add some fabric down the spine of each one and then lace on top of it. So I just have some PVA glue. It's your basic Elmer's glue here in the United States. And I'm going to just put some here in this little medicine cup. Maybe what I'll do is just pour. I'm not quite sure how much I need. We'll start with that. And I just have a paintbrush here. And what I really should do is put something down on my work surface so I don't get glue everywhere. I'm just going to grab a mat real quick. This is one of those silicone mats. So let's just pull that in there. Okay. So we're going to start with the first one. I have it lined up and they're all even. And I'm just going to take some of the glue and go over the spine. That will give it some strength. And then add the fabric to it. So I hope everyone is doing fantastic. Today is Saturday. And my son Pascal is off of work, and so we're just kind of hanging out today. Sweet little Miss Fiona and I took a nap, and so I'm pretty well rested here. Okay, so I'm just gonna put the glue there, and then I just have strips of fabric, and they're the length of the journal and plus a tiny bit wider. I'm just going to lay it on top there and have a little bit of an overhang on both sides. I think that'll be okay. And then I'm just going to come in with a little bit of glue here and add it so that that lays down flat. And then, like I said, I'm going to come in with some lace and put over the top of it just to make it a little bit prettier. And then I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to come in on this side and do the same thing. So my daughter's dog, Finn, you guys have heard me talk about him. He is coming to stay with us for a week. My daughter and her family are going on a trip to Hawaii. And so I'm babysitting. And I think I might even come in here with a little bit more glue over the top. Let that soak in. I think it'll be okay. I've done this before with this kind of glue on here, and it did just fine. And then I'm going to set this over to the side. What do I have? I've got this. Just want to make sure that that's nice and glued down, and I think it is. So I'm going to just set this over to the side, have it over the edge so that this is hanging over the edge of the counter, and it will dry. So let's do the next one. Okay. Again, I line it up and make it straight. And I already have my cloth cut and ironed. I should have showed you before I started doing this how the journal folds. Oh, and I am going to show you also that I figured out a way to glue all 6 journals together for it to be much easier than the first time I made this 6-fold journal. You know, every single time you make something, you figure out new things and easier ways to do something. And I think I've done that with this. Now, this is some fabric that's got a little bit of a design on the one side. Yeah, I think that will work. Perfect. going to tell you guys something. I can't remember what it was. What was it? Oh, it'll come to me in a minute. So I'm going to just do this on all 6 of the journals. Now this side. I guess I don't have the gift for gab today. Oh, now I remember what it was. So when I did the tutorial on the Coptic stitch, there was a lot of people that said they didn't have the patience. They didn't feel like they had the patience for that kind of a stitch. And what I answered to many people is, yes, the first time I did it, it took a long time. But then now the second time I've done this stitching, it was a lot quicker. And I'm sure the third time I do it, it will be even quicker. So that's like with anything. The more you do something, the easier it becomes and the quicker you're able to do it. I think I'm going to grab a wet one here. No, that's just a string there. Just a piece of string that's because I have glue on my hand, it's stuck to my hand. Oh, so yeah, so don't be afraid to try something new. I just like being able to learn something new and become proficient at it. One thing that I was very proficient at in my nursing career as I worked is I could start an IV on just about anybody, especially in OB. And not to dish any of my OB colleagues, but I never could understand why they couldn't get an IV on an OB patient. OB patients are young and they're healthy and they have ropes for veins. And I don't know, I couldn't understand why some of the nurses couldn't start an IV on some of the patients. And so if they couldn't get the IV, they'd say, well, Juanette will get it. And I could. If I couldn't get it, then there was really something wrong there. I actually even one time, let's see. So you see this little vein right there? You can barely see it. I've started an IV on a patient there because that's all they had. That's all I could find. Not an OB patient. That was back in my ER days. So you know what I realize now I should be doing? I should be clipping these together to hold them tight. Maybe I don't want them that tight, and then that way I'll be able to put stuff in them easily. So we're just going to continue as we are. So anyway, but I do miss sometimes, now that I've been retired an entire year, I'm kind of missing it a little bit. I find that, well, for one thing, I find that I'm taking lots of naps and I'm very healthy, but think I'm getting a little bored sometimes. I don't know. It's actually occurred to me very fleeting that maybe I should get a part-time job as a nurse. And then I think, no, I'm done. 46 years, that was enough. Yeah. But I think that's also why I feel like I also, in my crafting, I want to find something new to learn. Oh, I did look this up, but it's in, I think it's in the state of Virginia. There is bookbinding, like traditional bookbinding courses. And I would love to learn that. But the classes are a little bit on the expensive side. And then I've got to go there, fly there. And it's like, oh. But I would love to learn that. I've done a little investigating to see if they have any bookbinding classes or workshops here in the Phoenix area. I did email some bookbinding place. They never emailed me back, so but I would like to do that. And then the other thing I thought, you just need to get out and exercise. You need to get out. You need to start working out. You need to start walking. I think I'm just spending way too much time in the house, just kind of hanging out, crafting. Okay, here we go, another one. So anyway, I'm going to turn the camera off and I'm going to continue with these next three, and I will be back with you guys after they dry a little bit. So this is how the book is constructed. If you recall, you have a journal that opens this way, you have a journal that opens that way, you have one that opens this way, you have one that opens this way. I can get the pages that way. Then you flip it around, and then you've got journals that open both ways. Now, let me show you what I figured out. So the last time I constructed this journal, this was how I had the two smaller journals on top of the bigger one. So what happened is, as I had constructed them and I went to go glue them down, remember, you want it to be even. And as I was figuring out gluing it down, when I glued both of these journals down, I'm going to take these two that away for now. But when I was gluing those down, if I can hold it there, you can see these spines were crashing into each other. So what I had to end up doing is cutting these down smaller so that they would stay. And the other day I was sitting here, the journals were laying on my desk. I was watching another YouTuber and I was just looking at these laying here, and I thought, you dummy, why don't you do it like this? Instead of having the spines be glued there and open up the journal this way, why don't you have them glued this way They will still be even with each other, but as you go to open up the journal, this outside part will just come over on this section. And I thought, wow, how simple was that? That was just so simple. It was almost a shame that I had spent so much time on that previous journal, finagling it and trying to figure it out. So let's glue these first two down. Now, unfortunately, we lose this image of this lady, but she's throughout the journal, so it's no problem at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put glue on both of these and then butt them up against each other. And I probably should get my bigger glue bottle, which I think I'll do after this, but I want this all the way to the edge. If you recall, this outside paper is actually just 4 layers of Hammermill copy paper. So I'm going to just lay that there and butt that up against it. Grab my other bottle, my bigger bottle of Fabri-Tac, and add some glue here on this side. Yeah, I was just like, oh my gosh, that was so dumb of me to have to take so much time to figure that out. And but now I know for the next time, and for this time actually. So I'm going to lay that right like that. Okay, and then I'm going to line those up so that they're even, and just let those dry for a minute. I'm going to hold them there so I don't lose them. Bring it down into the camera and just push them up against each other. Make sure they're even and hold them there. Okay, so now I've given this a little bit of time to be able to stay put without moving around. I've let that glue settle. So those are the 2 smaller ones. And then the bigger one, you need to make sure that your orientation is going to be okay. So this is the way this goes, and you're going to want the next book to open up the same way, which is like this. So I'm going to lay that down, and I'm going to lay this on top of it. Now, remember, you've got one binding here and one here. You got your 2 smaller ones here on top, and then your 2 big ones. So I need to glue this one here to this one. And I'm just going to double check again just to make sure that the orientation is okay. That's perfect. And then this will go like this. That's perfect. So let's add some glue here. So I think I told you guys that Finn is staying with me, and I had been having Fiona sleep in the kennel, but Finn doesn't sleep in the kennel, and I couldn't put both dogs in the kennel, so I let them both sleep outside of the kennel last night, and they did great. I was like, oh, please don't keep me up tonight, little puppies. Okay, I think that's enough glue there. And then let's just add this on here and hold it there for a minute and let that sit. So yeah, they did really good last night. I slept very good. And then this morning I went to church, and I think I told you this story. One time I was watching Finn, and I don't know how he got outside of the between the laundry room and the garage door. He got out in the garage. It was during the summer. It's 115 degrees outside, which meant it was 100 and probably 20 plus in the garage. And thank goodness I came home, and that little dog was panting, and oh, it was just terrible. So anyway, when I went to church, I thought, oh gosh, I forgot that, Finn could maybe open up the door, because there are those kind of latches where, they can just put their paw down and it will flip open. And he got outside. And so I put him outside, but there's the door here and then the kennel, and it's a doggy door. So the kennel is closed, but they can go outside the door through the doggy door and do their business. And there was water and food out there, but they could come in where it's shady. But I was worried about them, maybe being too tight in the kennel together, and it would be hot. So I went to church, but the second hour of church, I came home and I snuck in the house just to, check on them. They were both sound asleep in the kennel, laying next to each other. So I could have stayed for the second hour of church. But anyway, I came home. So anyway, so remember, you've got your one there, that one there, and you got your one there and that one there. So we're going to let this dry for just a second, and then we're going to bring in these two and attach them. Okay, so now this second one has dried. So now I'm going to turn it back over to the two. And I want the orientation of the next journals to be the same. So I'm just going to turn it over, flip it like that. So this is the correct orientation, right side up. And then I'm going to lay these two here and glue them there. This one piece of paper sticking out just a tiny bit. I'm going to take it to my cutter and trim that off, because it's going to impede it so a little bit. So hang on just a second. Okay, I trimmed off just ever so slightly those papers. So I'm going to just make sure once again that I have the orientation the correct way, and my papers are going to come out that way. So let me add some glue here and we'll get these down. So So I've been thinking about a crafting retreat. I told you guys my daughter and son-in-law bought a home in Flagstaff, Arizona, which is only 2 hours from Phoenix. And it's probably in the summertime, it's probably either 30 to 40 degrees cooler than the Phoenix area. And so I'm thinking of hosting a retreat up there at their house, and I've already come up with a name. I'm going to call it Beat the Heat Crafting Retreat. So I'm not sure. I kind of thought maybe one in August and maybe one in September. I would do it for 5 days. I go to Gail's retreat in Montana in July, and it's 4 days, and I always wish it was like one more day. So I think I would do 5 days. The price would include meals and accommodation, but you guys would need to bring your own crafting supplies, whatever you wanted to craft with. So anyway, I'm thinking about that. Let's just see how that kind of pans out. So I'm pleased with this. I'm very pleased. And then I will come in and add like lace along there just to make that a little bit prettier. But anyway, I'm going to let this dry, and we'll go from there. So just as a final step for this video, we're not done with this journal, the 6-fold journal, but I did add some lace to the front of the journal and to the spines, both, every single spine. And so the journal will open up like this. We aren't done with it. I think in my next video, we'll be adding pockets, tucks, what have you. And I might add one image here because I don't like that line there where they joined, but that's the one. Then you turn it over. Those are the other two journals. Okay. And then this way is one of the big journals. There's that map and how it folded out. Then you flip it over, and then you see the other part of the journal. I'm telling you, I love this type of journal because you don't see it very often, and I haven't seen very many makers do it. So anyway, that's it for this video. And like I said, in my next video, we're going to finish up with the cover. I don't think it's quite done yet. I think it needs something else. We will decorate the inside and go from there. Thanks so much for joining me. I appreciate it, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks, and bye-bye.